at, I have 6:18, is that the same time? Call the meeting together at 6:18. We'll ask for the certification of the quorum.
I think I called you so you can be a part of the discussion during the meeting.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I checked in with the mayor and Brian, and they did think they probably needed me, but I'm happy to be a part of it.
So the only question we have is, can we start?
All right, well, never mind. The only question was about starting the meeting. If we have any questions, I'll call you back.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Kendrick. Bye-bye.
Kathy, she gonna charge us for it.
Yeah.
Councilmember Rowland,
Present.
Councilmember Randall, Councilmember Jones,
Yeah.
Councilmember Williams, and Councilmember Wallace.
Present.
All right, if we can have an invocation, does anybody want to volunteer for the invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance?
I do invocation. Put it out by your head. Lord, gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this best opportunity to be here, Lord. We just thank you for this opportunity to try to move the city forward in ways, Lord. I ask that you just make this meeting expeditious but also efficient at the same time, Lord. We just thank you in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I would also ask if you please stand for a moment of silence for Congressman Elijah Cummings. As many of you know, his wife, Maya Rockymore, was a Prairie View graduate as well. Thank you. This meeting for the citizens and council, it's a workshop to discuss and take action on the USW Second Amendment to the City of Prairie View Agreement. We have Mr. Johnson here, and we have Mr. Corey Boswick, representing USW. And so we can get started in our meeting. Do you want to go first, Judge, or you want Mr. Boswick to go?
Well, we'll go together. What Corey and I did, we sat down and we met and we went through his proposal. And then we took his proposal and worked it into a potential budget presentation. And what you guys have there is results of that session that we had. We put together we took the budget worksheet that we had used during the budget process. And in that budget worksheet, we had originally approved the column that did not include USW taking over the entire operation. The column is still on there under proposed as far as what USW had proposed in their original presentation to us for taking the project over. Now we've added the column that says USW revised. And that's what we've put together here, and we'll go through this. I will just start off with a narrative here that was in your email. Says that please find attached revised Public Works 2019-20 budget based on USW's revised proposal. What we've done is the water and sewer revenue, we've increased it by 10%. USW had proposed that we increase it by 20%. This right here is based on with their efforts. They felt very strongly that this could be accomplished. So using a conservative revenue budgeting procedure, we, as opposed to 20, we increased to 10%. And that's simply water and sewer revenues. If you look at your budget presentation there, you'll notice that water revenue will go from $552,000 to $607,200, and sewer revenue would go from $823 to $905,300. The other revenues remain the same. So that was the first change that we've made in this particular budget presentation. Okay, after that, also this budget includes 2 used pickup trucks, 2 golf carts, and new billing software, and a trailer to move the golf carts. And I'll let Corey tell you why he recommended that particular equipment.
Sure, appreciate it, Mr. Johnson. Good evening, council, I appreciate y'all taking the time to hopefully resolve this second amendment so that way we can move forward and operate for the city of Prairie View. Coming from the last council meeting, we were asked to review the budget as well as add what the 2 FTE USW Utility Group employees would be doing in the city full-time on a daily basis. You'll see that on page 2, I believe, of your second amendment. In there, I added a chart that pretty much shows the tasks and when those tasks will be performed. I was talking to JJ about the budget, and I was noticing that the water and sewer revenues and where they're at compared to the amount of connections that the city currently have. I strongly believe that that number can be increased by 20% once we take over operations for the city of Prairie View. Something else that I noticed being out here working in the city is that currently the city staff, we have 2 public work operators riding to a vehicle. When we were taking care of the main break that was on Bean Road, one was tasked with going to the hardware store and picking up a pump to help pump out the water out of the hole. Well, 2 of them jumped in the truck and took off to go get a pump from the hardware store because those 2 ride in the same vehicle. So adding additional vehicles will increase the efficiency on the tasks of the public works. Also, what's kind of burdening on the guys as far as meter reading is the fact that they're having to use these F-150s, which are large vehicles, to get out and read meters. A lot of times it's wear and tear on the truck, number one, so that increases the cost to the city on having to have the trucks in and out of repair shops because they're having to constantly put the transmission in drive, reverse, park, drive, open and closing doors to get out at each meter. So one of the things that we utilize with our company are golf carts. They're electric. You charge them up whenever you have to do meter reading. They don't have any doors on them. So as soon as you pull up to the meter, you just take your foot off the gas. They stop by themselves. If any of you play golf, you know how they operate. But you just jump out, read the meter, and jump right back in, go on to the next one. So that increases the efficiency. So these are some of the things that we want to bring to the city to help increase the efficiency, as well as the full-time operators to help do some of the things that the city needs done to move them in a forward direction and increase the revenue that's coming into the city.
And the software.
Yes, oh, and software. We did get a quote from AVR to change the current billing software. You know, you have a Pinto versus a Cadillac. You know, we really need to address that situation. Yes, sir.
With the software, the primary user will be Ms. Dorn, right?
That's correct. So the software will belong to the city of Prairie View.
Okay, thanks.
This quote is for converting QuickWater to AVR, and it will be the city of Prairie View software that they use. If you take a look at the quote attachment, there's some expense in there for a conversion, running both the systems parallel, plus the configuration on 900 plus accounts. We were just estimating at the time when I given her the information. This also includes training, up to 40 hours of training. Any additional training that needs to be done, we can train the city staff because we also use the same software for USW Utility Group. So running reports, doing any type of special reporting, we can come in and do that training at no additional cost to what you see included in this base fee, because it'll be done during normal
So Ms.
business hours.
Durham will be the only one getting trained on this, or do we train, or would you train the whole?
I would train whoever your central administration staff are, in case Ms. Durham is on vacation.
Secretary.
Right, someone else would need to know.
Treasurer. We train both of them.
Right,
Well, Bynum and Sherry.
right, especially with it having to do with, it's your billing and work order system, so it's gonna be dealing with your financials as well as the work that's being produced out in the city.
I have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
One, the total upfront cost you have is $11,550. And then you have some additional options for electronic, bank billing payments, it says 50 cents per, so citizens will incur these costs. So they walk us through that. And then I have some questions in reference to the usability of this software. Well, one, where is it gonna come from, JJ? And two, I have some questions for Ms. Durham.
Yes, so typically with any billing software, if you pay by credit card, if you use an ACH from your bank, there's associated charges with those type of payment methods. Typically what we see, I believe it's $1 for credit card charges. So yes, these charges that you see on here will be captured by the citizens when they're using those payment methods.
So to understand, I guess U-Scan and U-Receivables is their billing system.
Yes,
So to use, just like if I was gonna use Cash App, that's their system, so there's a user fee.
yes, that's correct.
So if a citizen wanted to pay their bill like they currently pay, is there an additional way to receive payment without having to go through their system?
Absolutely. So those are just additional payment methods,
Right.
which are good. I mean, technology is moving the world forward, so a lot of people don't have time to get up and come, especially if this is a vacation home or just a piece of property that they have. But yes, the current methodology that's being used in paying the bills can still be applied.
Ms. Durham, and then I'll have, what are the methods of payment a citizen can currently use to pay their bill?
They can do it by mail,
Uh-huh.
they can come into the office, or they can use our online payment system.
Okay, is that the online payment system that the city has, or is that the online payment system for Quick Water?
No, that the city has.
Okay, so, is there a fee associated with using that payment system?
Yes,
Okay,
it's $3 per $100.
okay, and, okay, so they can elect to use our current system that way, or they'll be able to elect to use U-Receivables or U-Scan and pay just this whatever, and it goes.
Well, not the city's current system, Quick Water, because that'll go away.
Yeah,
Right,
that'll go away.
But they can still elect to use the same payment methods that they're using for the city.
Uh-huh.
They offer those same payment methods through AVR.
Right. So we're saying that the fee, so we're saying that we currently have a fee,
Yes.
it's a $3 fee. You're saying this is a 25-cent fee. So the additional $2.75 we would keep that would go into Public Works account. Is that correct, Ms. Durham?
We get a portion of it, I'm not really sure what percent
Okay,
we get.
No, the fee would be based on whatever the system fee is. You don't wanna add to that fee.
So it'll go from 3 to 25.
well,
If it goes that
but
way.
we have to, there's a process on our part where we have an employee who has to do something. So we can add a fee, but I'm just trying to make sure that what I'm hearing as far as currently, the money goes into the city of Prairie View's account, doesn't go into Quick Water's account. And we're saying that right now, if a citizen wants to pay their bill using, receivables, that money is gonna go into AVR, and not, if they use this system versus the current system. And I was just trying to make sure that there's how's the accountability gonna?
Right. Anytime there's bank transactions, there's associated fees.
Right.
So this is just covering those associated
Okay.
fees.
Just
So it doesn't
letting us
matter if
know
it's
what it's
Prairie
gonna
View
be.
or AVR, it's gonna be associated.
Miss Dr. Brown.
3 things. Number one, I heard you say that it would bring more money into the city. And the only way that I can calculate that could happen is if you're charging the bill payers, the residents more.
No,
If you're bringing more money into the city.
Right.
You didn't say saving money, you said bringing more into the city.
right. And that's through a meter audit. Because I can tell you right now, we have meters that are running way under the standard percent that they should be
Well,
running.
part of what we're trying to do is that the meters aren't accounting for all the money that's being spent. So bringing in 20% more means that if we do a meter audit, it shows that you've only been paying $10. When we go out and check the meters and it becomes an efficient meter, the meter may say you should have been paying $15. And so, not that the rate went up, it just means that the efficiency of the meter was not being read all the way. And so this is part of how we're going, a long-term plan on how we plan to upgrade the meters and do all these different things. But this is the first part to have a meter audit, and we're gonna talk about, you know, what does that look like and why bringing on USW and having a project manager is gonna help us get there to talk about those things. You had two other
My
questions.
second question is, how many of the water paying residents have you talked with about this to get their input on it? And my third question is, I wanted to clarify what, Mayor Pro Tem, Brian was saying. If the city is charging $3 to process that, part of that goes to our fee, but the rest of it goes into the city's bank account. And you're saying we can if implementing that system, we can no longer use our system, but the payees will be paying 25 cents to use your system. So that takes away that $3 and whatever percentage the city is getting of that takes that away from us. And you're saying we cannot use it, implementing your system is not, that citizens don't have an option between using your system and the city system.
No, I'm sorry, let me just clarify. So when you're dealing with banks and transactions and credit cards, those are the fees that are associated. Those are the fees that a credit card company assesses on a transaction, those are fees that the bank assesses on a transaction. It's not that the city is getting any of those fees. They're just capturing those fees because the city is
No,
being
the city
charged.
gets a portion of that, $3, and you're saying that your system only charges 25 cents. But that, even that 25 cent goes for the processing. Our bank processes it, charges a fee, but we also have people that that are part of that system, that process.
Mhm.
So part of that money goes to the city, part of it goes to the bank. So you're saying now that,
I'm unaware of that process.
Right, I'm not aware of that. Ms. Durham, when you mentioned $3, is that a fee that the bank is receiving for that system? Or is that included in your bill to the customer?
No, not in the bill.
Right,
They
that
pay
goes, that's the processing fee.
Right.
That goes to the processor.
Right.
The city doesn't get that at all.
I think that you need to clarify that before you make a final decision, because I don't think that information is correct. I don't think the whole $3 goes to the bank.
Yes. Ms.
Well,
Durham, what
we can, she just said,
JJ,
I'm just
Okay,
gonna.
Ms. Alexander set all
Right.
of that up,
can
so,
we get two things? Ms. Durham, can you find out, not now, before our next meeting, so, how much the fee is? What portion of the fee do we get? And will that go away if we go to AVR?
okay.
All right, thank you. Does anybody, council, y'all have any questions for Ms. Durham? So JJ, what line item will this 11,500 come from? And then I have the two additional questions for AVR.
That'll be,
Now,
if you
excuse
go,
me, I don't mean to be rude or interrupt the meeting, but the second question hadn't been addressed.
I'm sorry, and that was about the residents of
Right.
Fairview, if they've been made aware of
Have you all received any input from residents
as far as.
that actually pay water bills?
Right, as far as the billing system change, or
Right.
as far as USW? Okay.
Getting their input on changing the system like you all are proposing?
No, we have not done any type
Okay.
of mail out or anything.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. So one, what line item it will the?
okay, if you look at the page, the last page that says fixed assets,
Uh-huh,
you'll see 13,000 there.
uh-huh,
That's included with the other fixed assets. You said 54,000 total?
yes,
If you then go back to the second page,
uh-huh.
toward the bottom, you'll see less fixed assets, 54,000.
Let's fix it.
Toward the bottom.
So this was 10, now it's 54. Where do we get the money from?
The money's gonna come from the additional revenue. The money's coming from the revenue that you see revised in your total. Your total revised revenue is 2,871,500.
Okay, yes, two, is that included? So you, in your email, you said 10%. This is only based on 10%, this 2.8.
That's right.
All right. Now, Ms.
There's only
Boswell.
two revenue sources,
Right,
water and sewer.
correct.
Mhm.
The 20%, where is that where would we see that?
Well,
Because
okay, we didn't budget the 20%.
I know, JJ, listen to the
Okay,
question.
go ahead.
On the paper, we only budgeted 10%,
Right.
like you said.
Right,
Mr. Boswick said that he thinks that USW can help us
right,
become more efficient.
okay.
And I'm asking him what what area?
I'll tell you now, those areas would be in the water and sewer. But I took a conservative budgeting approach.
I get that. This is why I'm
Then
asking the
you can
question.
increase those two line items by
I
10%.
got that.
Okay.
Mr. Boswick, with the 20%, we did the conservative 10%. What are some of the things that you're saying that we need to do that will help us get the 20% outside of, so you're saying if we do AVR, that will help bring some efficiency?
Absolutely.
What are some of the other things that we can document? Because in the contract, I want to suggest that there's going to be some additional benchmarks put in here to make sure that we have this conversation comes back. And so I want us to be very clear to where we're saying that we want these things are going to work, and what are we doing to help make sure we get there? So if we're saying, you know, if it's a 5-year contract, what do we need to do to look back to make sure that what we're telling the citizens, the efficiency, or some of the things that we're working those things out? So outside of, where else will we see that?
Okay, so what the meter audit consists of, there's multiple components. Number one is identifying if that connection is correct, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, whether it's agricultural, okay? Because those rates are charged out differently. So once we identify that, that's gonna set the rates, they're gonna change the rates in the current system, okay? Then secondly, what the meter audit identifies is whether or not the meter is registering correctly. Is it over-registering, is it under-registering? And a lot of times, they're not gonna be over-registering, because when they come from the manufacturer, they're at 100%. But over time, what we find in the industry, once a meter gets up to 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 million gallons, they start under-registering by 10%. Okay, so that's the second, that's the second item that we're gonna identify. Okay, and then thirdly is just simply increasing the billing efficiency by checking the accounts, making sure that the accounts are correct according to the people that live at the homes and according to the actual meter to the address. We gotta make sure that everyone is being billed accordingly. I'm not saying that there are some people that are not being billed accordingly now, but we are having some exceptions that are coming out of the billing report now that we get. You know, the guys are having to go back and do 6 pages of rereads.
But doesn't that come from the infrastructure in which the city lacks or have in place now? Some of those issues?
Well, the meters would be an infrastructure issue. If they're over 1 million, 1.5 million to 2 million, those meters need to be changed out.
I did, so, because I think what all of us want is basically a direction in which, like USW is not just taken from the city as far as like funds and things of that such, like you're actually helping us with a plan to like drive our city in a better direction, and so helping us with eventually like with an idea of like smart meters, or this is in 90 days, this was what we was able to do, this is what we need to do the next 90 days, like things of that such. This is
Absolutely,
what this.
and that's what we have in place. Another, what I had added to the AVR system is URead, and what that is, it's an app, it's a web-based app, we use it.
You read?
Yes.
It's on the paper.
Should be on here.
I see UVision, it's the pay, you scan it, you receivables.
Okay, so I believe it's part of UVision. Hold on, let's see, URead, service order module. Cloud, you got cloud data hosting, okay. So, it's either in UVision or UManage, but it's part of the billing, so it's in here. The app's called URead, okay, and so that's going to be part of this system as well. We utilize it. It's user friendly. It's an app that you can put on your smartphone or on your tablet, and when the guys go out and read, what we're going to do, first thing we need to do is set routes. Okay, when they go out and read in Rosewood, they know when they get on a certain street, this is how they're gonna read that street, and those meters are gonna be in sequence. Okay, when they go through URead, that sequence is gonna be on that app. They're gonna pull up that first address. When they punch in that number, okay, if there's any discrepancy right then and there, it's gonna flag them. It's gonna flag it yellow, or it's gonna give them a red alert, and that red alert means it's way out of whack. Yellow is, be cautious, this read doesn't seem correct. If they get a green, that means, okay, this meter's in line, the read's in line, move on to the next meter. So once they get all green and come back, that takes the additional burden off of Ms. Durham, so she can do additional tasks, but she won't have to go in and key in 1,200 accounts, okay? Because then we just pull that Excel file out of the cloud, because it's updating constantly while they're reading. Pull that Excel file out of the cloud and upload it in the billing system, and it automatically does it.
They're using the handheld, and we're gonna be able to do that with the current meters we have?
Yes.
How are they transmission it?
No, it's not a communication, a wire transmission. It's just that we're gonna load the route, the sequence, the route of the meter into AVR. Okay, so when the guys open up this, when they open up their tablet, I wish I could show you on my phone, but when they open up the tablet, they go to URead, and they pull up Prayer View, and then it's gonna have all the routes. Let's say Rosewood is Route 1, Alta Vista is Route 2, however they're numbered. So they'll go to Route 1, whoever's gonna read Route 1 out of the 5 guys. Whoever reads Route 1 will go out to Rosewood and start reading those meters. As they're reading the meters and inputting the data into AVR system, the web-based system, it's going to the cloud, and it's being stored in the cloud. So as soon as they're done, they hit complete with their route, and then at that time, Ms. Durham can pull an Excel file out of the cloud and just put it right into.
Yeah, you also see the water issues in which we have, instead of like, oh, well, it might be broke, or something might be going on here with this
Absolutely.
AVR system.
Absolutely.
You know, for-
And it also allows you to take a photo while you're there. If there's a discrepancy of the meter box, let's say the meter box is broken and we need to eventually get to it. So they can take a photo, and that goes back to Ms. Durham. She can instantly create a work order off that photo, and that work order is now in the system. So it's being tracked. It's being assigned to somebody needs to do it. Because at the end of the month, you run an open work order report, and whatever's still outstanding, hey, we gotta get it done. You gotta hold people accountable.
Two questions. One, everything that's included is this 11.5. It shows monthly, so does the city have to pay the $200 for the citizens to be able to have the online UVision, and then this utility billing software, that's $270 per month for 1,000 accounts? So how many accounts do we have, Ms. Durham?
I have 1,012.
So we'll potentially be paying about $300 recurring every month. Is this in addition to, and where's that gonna be?
No, that's in the line item that says computer software. You got 8,000 budgeted in there now.
And so right now, what's the current cost? So you're saying we have 8,000 budgeted, and that
Mhm.
300 will come from there?
Right.
So we don't have to get any additional software or anything? Once we transition what we currently have from Quickwater, do this training, we're not gonna have to come back and say we need anything else?
No.
All right. Ms. Durham, real quick question for you. We've been talking about this transition from Quickwater to AVR. You work this every day. Can you give us your thoughts about, one, the transition, but, or anything you would want us to know before we move forward with this, the decision in reference to AVR?
Okay, well, with the current system we have, it's not efficient enough to get the job done. You know, many times you have to go back and reread and change numbers and that sort of thing. And to be able to catch errors, as explained in AVR, they have the mechanism to alert you when something is not correct. Now, I really like that part.
Is that it, Ms. Durham?
In terms of what we do as far as having accountability for all of us, I mean, that's okay. Now, do I wanna drive? We'd have to renegotiate.
Right, where?
Where would you have to drive to?
What, I'd have to go to Houston, correct?
No, it'll be the city.
No, everything stays here.
Oh, okay.
Everything stays
It's a
here.
city system.
Oh, no. So, Ms. Durham, that's why I want, so nothing in this contract is gonna change any employee status
Right, no.
or where they work location. Now, I don't know if AVR, you may, because they're based in Houston, you may have to go to training, just like
That's
you go
fine.
anywhere, but
That's fine,
this won't change.
that's
Let
fine.
me just add, let me add two things real quick. From working with Ms. Durham and seeing what Quick Water can do, the work order system is, is very minimal. You guys should be receiving a report every month at the council meeting, showing you what activities have been done within the city monthly, okay? And that's what AVR will be able to
Would you
produce.
present that?
I'm sorry?
Would you present that, or you just give it to us as documentation?
We would present it, the project manager will present that to you on a monthly basis. That's part of our contract, is that we'll provide one monthly operations report to the city for review. And then number two, I just want to touch on this real quick. AVR is a local company. Quick Water, I believe, is out of New Mexico or something like that, so you guys had to travel all the way to New
Yeah.
Mexico, be out of your comfortability. Trust me, I travel all the time. I know how it is living in hotel rooms. But they're a local company, so it's basically, they have what's called AVR support. They're very responsive. If you send them an email, they log into your computer and they show you exactly what steps you need to take if you're missing a step. And like I said, they're local, so it's no problem for them sending out one of their reps to come to the city. It makes it very convenient. Hardly ever do we have to send our employees to AVR. I don't think we've ever sent an employee to AVR for training. They come out to us. Yeah.
And would this also help us, I mean, how we're trying to move forward, majority of council, our citizens, with comprehensive plan, strategic plan, in 10 to 20 years, this will help us, and you guys would help us within whatever time frame we're applying the contract, and to formulating that strategic plan, that comprehensive plan on where we need to go with our water and the roads.
Yeah, absolutely. There's reports that you can pull out of AVR. One is the work order summary. It'll basically break down where you've had to do the most work, what streets, what type of work it is, main breaks, sewer stoppages, what was it, lift stations, was it water plant? And then you can also get labor reports out of AVR, and you can see what percent, do you need to focus on hiring more people, or can you cut back on labor, or, is that person being productive? Are they putting in 100% billable time or 100% production time for the city, or are they underproductive, and you may have to look at replacing that individual? So it's gonna keep track of all that.
I had two questions. One, so I'm back, we've left AVR. I have, do y'all have anything about AVR?
No.
All right, as we move to the contract and the funds, in some of the things to where we're talking now, the 2 FTEs,
Yes, sir.
full-time employees, which was amounted to the amount. Can you, we were supposed to have a breakdown, of what that was paying for. Now, I see that, we have some tasks, but in that amount, we said, so you did talk about the meter audit, we talked about that. That's not mentioned in here, it's a slight